Hello, I'm Iqbal and welcome to the Theek Thak podcast brought to you by the Sikh Welfare Council, also known as SIWEC. In Punjabi, Theek Thak means all well or all good. It's common to ask people if everything is Theek Thak when we meet them. In this podcast series, we want to take what it means to be all well and all good seriously. We want to focus on an aspect of our health that we often don't pay enough attention to and very often don't know how to pay attention to. I'm referring to mental health. Now, I'm not an expert on issues related to mental health, but I have a number of questions and I'm eager to learn. In this podcast series, I will be speaking with a number of experts. Over the coming weeks, experts will discuss issues ranging from mental health issues that we face as a community to stress amongst the youth. We will also discuss resources that are available to all of us. Welcome back to another episode of the Theek Thak podcast. In the last episode, we were speaking with Manjit and Ichaa about their experiences in caring for a loved one who was grappling with dementia. We are carrying on that conversation with them today, so please stay tuned. One of the things that as a caregiver you probably have to balance is one is helping them, being there for them, but also enabling them to remain independent as long as possible. How do you balance that?
It's a bit.
I'm sorry, maybe unfair question.
No. It's okay. I think it's a very valid question. With Mum, right? By the time we realized she had dementia, she was already in the intermediate stage, and it did not take her long to go from there to the more advanced stages. So while she was in the intermediate stage, we tried to involve her. In like, what do you want to eat today? Ichaa would say, can I make you Punjabi chai? And Ichaa, she was like, you are making for me, really?
Because I never make chai before.
And so what would you like to eat? But over time, she lost interest. So she was in that space where we tried to empower her to make more decisions, but not for long, because she deteriorated quite fast. And I think the worst for us was when she couldn't coordinate her wardrobe. She used to be quite fussy about what to wear and how to match and all that. Her handbags and her whatever, dupatta and what suit and all. But she lost the ability to coordinate. Remember, Ichaa? So then the caregivers had to do it on a daily basis. Then we started to say, okay, 5-day term. Okay, this is her Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday kind of outfit, like that. So that was, for us, very hard to watch when she lost the ability to function on a daily basis. Yeah. So she wasn't in that space long enough for us to push her to do more, to be empowered, to be a bit more independent. Her ability to do that didn't last long.
What about with regards to physical activity, like going for walks, etc.? How do you...
Daily, except during COVID.
But I still do that at home.
Yeah.
I just wheel her around the house, go to the room,
up and down,
from room to room.
the living room, from the door to the window.
Yeah.
For the longest time, until she became really, really...
The window, standing by the window.
She would stand by the window, and the caregiver, the care provider will know when we were coming back. She will stand by the window, and the first thing we do when we approach our flat, we will look up to our
window
unit, and she'll be there and she'll be waving to us. When did she stop doing that, Ichaa? Do you remember?
Yes. After she was hospitalized.
The first time or second time? The first time for the stomach problem. So we're talking 2017. So she stopped doing that. Every time we noticed with Mum,
change of environment.
That's why I don't think it was the change of environment.
No,
every
because sorry, can I get something?
Yeah, please.
Because before she was hospitalized, I mentioned in the book, before she was hospitalized in November 2017, she was managing quite well. But it was only when she was hospitalized that
when she came
worse.
back.
That was really bad. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, actually.
So when she was discharged from the hospital, she became more agitated, worse. It was really bad, violent outbursts. And that was the very first time, and I had to step in to interfere because one of the care provider was trying to give her antibiotic. And I had to step in to interfere to protect the care provider. Just like that, out of nowhere, she reached up for a fork on the table and went toward me. It looked like she's gonna stab me with a fork. And luckily, I screamed, I raised my voice. She stopped. I remember she stopped and she looked at the fork in her hand. She dropped it and she ran toward me and cried and kept asking me what was happening to her. Why is it? I couldn't answer. I kept saying, it's okay, Nani, it's alright, don't worry. And I was crying. And I kept apologizing to her and I said to God, please help. I can't handle it. Mom was away on business trip. I remember she used to travel a lot. So she would come in and out. So I ensured her when she was discharged from the hospital. Don't worry, Nani is with me, I'm there, you just go ahead. That was the first night she was away and Nanima, that episode. So that was, wow.
Actually, Ichaa has raised a very, very important point. She's right. This change of environment, routine is very important. A structured routine. That sense of familiarity gives, I think, dementia patients comfort and security. When that is disrupted, agitation can set in. And you're right, somehow she was a lot better before that hospitalization.
I mentioned in the book.
She was hospitalized for 5 days, right?
Yes, 5 days, yes, right.
Yes, correct. And that was also another reason why we never considered nursing home for her, because we were actually quite convinced it wasn't going to be positive. I feel really, and we both agree, if the home environment can be structured to take care of dementia patients, let them be at home. Of course, we're not denying that there will always be dementia patients who need to be in specialized nursing homes because of advanced medical requirements, or perhaps the home environment is such that the family cannot support their well-being at home. We understand that. But if at all possible, let them be at home. The nursing homes can take care of them, I'm sure, but it's a very sanitized approach, isn't it? You can't give that comfort of familiarity and that family bond and the love that you can possibly give them 24/7 within the family home in a nursing home. We did put mom in a nursing care, daycare.
But it was only half day.
Yeah, we only took her there for half a day, and we three times a week or twice a week, and we chose slots when they would have activities that would complement what we were doing at home. That was to incorporate socializing for her so that she gets to meet and interact with people outside of the immediate family environment. But when it became evident that it wasn't doing her any more good, we stopped it. And even the center supervisor agreed with us because dementia was really getting very advanced. That was in 2019 before COVID hit. A few months later, COVID hit. So I think it was just as well that we stopped her from going to the daycare center for their activities.
I think that's you touch on a topic that I think is one of perhaps the most difficult choice that a family has to make about when do you call the care home, if you need to call the care home. And that's I guess that's a very, very difficult choice anybody has to make.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
I would like to really strongly advocate for I think systematic changes so that more dementia patients can be supported in the comfort of their own homes. But we do need support. So if systematic changes can be put into place, including maybe dedicated care coordinators for every dementia patient that is based at home, so that the family has a single source of resource, liaison person, and it also frees up the nursing homes for people who really need it. I'm a strong advocate for this. I think the nursing homes should be the very last resort.
Can I come back to something, because there are so many questions I have. Just before I forget, I wanted to ask Ichaa. You mentioned, I totally respect the fact that you brought this matter up about your nanima having a fork, and and this is unfortunately fairly typical of cases with some cases of dementia, because anxiety is linked to stress and outburst as well. How, as caregivers, how did you handle such situations? I mean, not just like physical sort of things, but the threat of violence or anger, that the lashing out that happens, right? That's just fairly typical of dementia cases. So how did the two of you handle this situation?
I would just reassure her. I remember I would just give her a hug, I kiss her, I just watch her cry. I would just sit down and just watch her. I said, Nani, it's okay, you got it. We are with you, you're not alone. So
It only happened once, with her.
yeah, it's only no. Sometimes she would cry
okay,
because she would cry out for you.
Yes.
Remember?
When I'm not there.
Yeah, because she
When
kept,
I was not there,
she
she
kept
would cry
saying
out for
Amma,
me.
Amma. 'Cause I knew she was,
Yeah, that's correct.
So I would take her down. That incident, November 2017, that was the worst outburst from her ever, and that was a long time, of course, but still on and off, but not as bad as November 2017. But I remember reassuring her. I would tell her, it's okay, you got it, don't worry, we are with you, you're not alone. So I make sure I just hug her, comfort her, and of course, the change of environment we mentioned earlier. Prior to that, May 2017, I met up with my good friend, technical friend way back. She is a nurse specialist,
She's a geriatric nurse.
nurse specialist
based in
Melbourne,
Australia.
Yeah, Australia. In May 2017, and she wasn't. I mean, she was on and off. She was on a mood
pill. Mom was on medication to manage.
Yeah, so we call it mood pill, and I was still hopeful that she will be okay and all. So I was exploring the idea of taking Nani with me to overseas, like UK, Australia, because I was thinking of doing my master's in overseas. So I thought it's okay. While she's on medication, it shouldn't be a problem. However, just stress to me that it's not a good idea. Because as a healthcare professional, we are very concerned about our patient well-being. I was taken back and I said to her, how should you say that? Because I'm her granddaughter. I have every right. That I thought I knew I was doing her Nani a favor by taking her away from stressful environment. A change of environment will do her good. She was right. She tried to warn me about diaper. She tried to say, it won't get better, it will get worse. So diaper, wheelchair, hospital bed, etc. I refuse to accept it. And because of that, I avoided just for a bit. But since November 2017 incident, Jack was right.
Since the fog incident,
Yeah.
you realized Jack
I
was
realized
right.
Jack was right. She was so spot on. So after that, we never considered any changes, in the routine and all.
Yeah.
That was very, very caring. Yeah.
But we were also very protective of her.
Very.
When we realized that a particular setting or environment had a detrimental effect, we started putting in barriers. We became increasingly protective of her. The last thing you need is for a dementia patient to hear or be exposed to negative circumstances, negative situations, negative people, negative comments. It doesn't help. It creates even more confusion, more disorientation. And imagine already she's already so confused, and you are just making it worse for her. She can't even make sense of what's going on, right? So over time we became even more protective of her. And if we felt that a particular set of situation or circumstances had a negative impact on her, we will then keep her away from that. Over time, the list of what we would do to protect her actually grew.
I can imagine, and as a condition itself evolves,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And you raised the point about negativity doesn't help, but being a caregiver is hard not to break down, to be affected by what's going
True,
on
true.
as well, right?
Yeah, do it in private.
Yeah, and one more point I wanted to circle back to was about choices. We spoke briefly about it at the start of our discussion. As a caregiver, especially at the later stages of dementia, or throughout the process, let's put it this way, throughout the caregiving process, the caregiver has to take on the role of making more choices for that individual, be it medication, but even in some cases financial decisions for that. Again, whether to stay at home, etc. And all these decisions are being made on behalf of someone, right? How did you negotiate making these choices?
Actually,
Actually, I finally I had to make all those decisions, which is why, on hindsight, I am now a very strong advocate of things like advanced care planning, living wills, lasting powers of attorney, and even end of life preferences discussions. We never had any of that. In 2017, my brother-in-law, Kesh, did initiate a discussion with myself, my siblings, and Ichaa, because she's a main caregiver, on ACP type situations in the event that mom becomes seriously ill. What do we do at that point in time? What kind of decisions we would make? That discussion was not easy, but it did help, because in the end we revisited what we managed to get consensus on, and that actually helped make those final decisions that allowed us to decide finally that we would take her home from the hospital for home palliative care, and just keep her comfortable till the end. But her own preferences were not factored in, because we never had those kind of discussions. There is some hesitation that is maybe, I'm not sure, is it linked to the fact that we're all Asians and we shy away from those kind of tough conversations, and maybe interventions need to be done at community levels to engage people a little bit more, raise awareness on how important these things are. But mom, the only thing I remembered when we had to grapple with all these issues, even down to, tube feeding or not, say for example, was what my mom said to me long ago, decades ago, when she was very, very well still. She said, I would never want to be bedridden ever, like in Punjabi, turdiਆਂ ਫਿਰਦਿਆਂ ਹੀ ਰੱਬ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਚੱਕ ਲਵੇ, that kind of thing. So I remembered that. So that was like a compass of sort, but her wishes were never consulted, because we never had that opportunity to engage her in those kind of discussions. But these discussions are very important, because at the end of the day, you need to factor in the person's wishes, the person having dementia. You need to factor in their wishes, even down to end of life preferences. Tough conversations, but they need to be had. Yeah. Because then you give them dignity, right? The sense of empowerment is still there, even though cognitively they're not able to decide for themselves then, but they would have decided way in advance.
Looking back at your experience and then reflecting now from there, are there sufficient resources out there, support networks out there for caregivers?
I think it's getting better. But we had to do our own research to piece everything together, to kind of make sense of which organization does what, and which ones would actually be beneficial given mom's situation. That's why I mentioned a dedicated care coordinator for every dementia patient, like a liaison person of sorts. It'll take resources, but look at the statistics, they're scary. The number of dementia patients is set to increase, not just in Singapore, but globally. The sooner we have these, the infrastructure in place, the better. Maybe we also need more daycare centers, more specialized clinics. I know we had to put mom on a waiting list for quite a while before she actually got admitted to the daycare center. Also there are these dementia-friendly communities. I know Yishun and in Bedok, they have these initiatives going on. Perhaps that can be extended further. And even transportations, because dementia patients have mobility challenges. I had to make special arrangements, but perhaps that could be brought into the mainstream. There's a lot that needs to be done. And I think even like subsidy thresholds for middle income families need to be looked into. Yeah, because it adds on. It does add up a fair bit. So perhaps all these systematic changes need to be looked into.
And then more attention perhaps to the caregiver as well.
Absolutely.
Support networks for them.
I'm not sure, but then again, I'm thinking support networks is actually mushrooming. I can see that mushrooming. In the last few years, I see more and more of that happening. But making people aware that this is available is another thing, you see. I'm not sure if we will ever see the day, but paid leave for caregiving, say for example. There are many organizations that are very empathetic and very considerate, and they have their own in-house processes to take care of that. But perhaps we can institutionalize this.
Manjit, Ichaa, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for sharing such a personal experience, a personal story. And I can only imagine that some of this must be sort of bringing back memories, but also perhaps painful memories of that. So thank you for being so candid and open about your experiences. I'm sure people listening in will have a lot to draw from in their own experiences as well. But before I call the podcast to a close, Ichaa, can I ask you why? At least tell us a little more about why your title is Our Himalayan Rose, the title of the book. I know I've read the book, but I'd like you to explain.
My Nangima is actually from Dharamsala.
Dharamsala.
And the mountain is very, very beautiful, just like my Nanima.
The mountain signifies her strength.
Yeah, her beauty.
And she loved roses.
Oh, very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching our podcast. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and spread the word.